So here we are, we're coming up on the biggest 10 days of the year probably, as far as gaming news goes, which starts on Thursday with the latest PlayStation State of Play, and then 7 days later we've got this year's Summer Game Fest, which is essentially taking up the mantle from E3 for 2022. And a few days after that, we've got the big Xbox showcase and Bethesda showcase. So it's going to be a big 10 days. But the big question, the big talking topic that I've been seeing over the last few days on Twitter is, are we going to get any Final Fantasy news? So let's talk about the possibilities. First up, we've got the State of Play, like I say. Now that starts at 3 PM PT, which is about 11 PM BST on June the 2nd. We'll be covering it 100% over on Twitch, so if you're not following over on Twitch, pop over there, keep an eye on it. You know, we cover all these events and we play games, we do stuff. Now, this event's kind of come out of nowhere in the last few days. No one really knew it was coming, and apparently it's going to have a focus on third-party and PlayStation VR 2 titles, which immediately rules anything out like God of War Ragnarok or anything else that's developed by, internally by Sony. So what are the chances of us getting anything Final Fantasy related, I hear you ask? Well, let's go through them. So, Final Fantasy 16. I feel like we are going to get news on Final Fantasy 16 at some point. I don't know if it's going to be at this State of Play. I'm not 100% on whether it's going to be at the State of Play or not, but I do think over the course of the 10 days, be it either at the PlayStation State of Play or at Summer Game Fest, we'll get something, but we'll get around to that later. Now, FF7 Remake 2, I'm going to say that's not going to happen. We're not going to get that at the State of Play, I don't think. I would expect that if we're going to get any Final Fantasy VII Remake news, it's probably going to be held for Summer Game Fest. So that'd be my guess. Summer Game Fest seems like it's going to be the bigger show. There's going to be more eyes on it. There's not just going to be the eyes of PlayStation owners on it. Everyone's going to kind of be watching. So yeah, I think that'd be the better place. This is why I think 16 is going to go that route as well. But I do think it is unlikely that we're going to get anything for Final Fantasy VII Remake at any point. But we'll talk about that. Now, for Forspoken, that's probably something that we'll get. I think we might get a little bit of something for Forspoken at the State of Play, and then we'll probably get a bit more at Summer Game Fest. I feel like that's probably going to be the next thing that drops. It's kind of out of Forspoken and 16, really. And I think both of them are going to be handled in very similar ways. We might see neither of them at State of Play, but both of them at Summer Game Fest. Or we might get a little tease for each of them at each of the shows. I'm not too sure. And as far as anything else, like Ever Crisis or anything like that, I doubt we're going to see anything like that. There is the possibility that we might get something FF9 remake related, because I would assume that that would be PlayStation exclusive. That'd be my guess. So it wouldn't be out of place for them to announce it at a PlayStation State of Play. But I think that's like really unlikely. Like 7 remake and 9 remake, I think it's very unlikely we get anything for them at the State of Play. Now, there have been a couple of leaks, some of them like the first one that we've got here, which says no Final Fantasy whatsoever, and then other leaks like this other one that we've got, which says all of the Final Fantasy. I don't believe either of these leaks. I think that there's like a less than 1% chance that these leaks are even remotely close. It just doesn't make sense. It makes no sense to me. So yeah, I don't think either of these leaks are true, so people getting the hopes up that there's definitely going to be Final Fantasy, or people saying that there's definitely not going to be Final Fantasy, I don't think we know either way. I wouldn't put any stock in those leaks. So that's the State of Play. Now, with Summer Game Fest, we've got a lot more possibility, I think. There's a wider range, a wider variety of things on show at Summer Game Fest. And, I mean, you always have the possibility of Square Enix kind of carving out half an hour or an hour just to announce their own things. You never know. They are listed as a partner for Summer Game Fest, so there will be something that gets announced as far as Square Enix goes. It just might not be Final Fantasy. But I kind of doubt that. Now, with Final Fantasy 16, if we've not had anything from it at the State of Play, I will be amazed if we don't get anything at Summer Game Fest, as far as Final Fantasy 16 goes. You know, it's already been delayed, we've already been pushed back on when we're getting news, we've had Yoshi P recently talking about how it's pretty much done. I would expect something from Final Fantasy 16. If not at State of Play, then definitely at Summer Game Fest. And the same goes for Forspoken as well. Forspoken is exactly the same situation. I expect to see it over the course of the week from the 2nd to the 9th. I expect to see it at some point, both of them. Now, coming around to 7 Remake 2, I still think it's unlikely. I think Remake 2 gets held until after 16 and Forspoken, probably. which means we might get an announcement at like a state of play towards the end of the year, maybe November, December, something like that, because I do think both Forspoken and 16 will come out this year. And I do think there will be room for an announcement afterwards for Remake Part 2. I just feel like they're going to focus on 16 and Forspoken for now, and maybe some additional stuff that we'll talk about in a second. And then once all that's kind of off the table, so to speak, everything, all the focus, all the marketing focus goes into Remake. That's what I expect at least, and it's kind of been what I've been thinking for a while. I don't think we see Remake Part 2 until after 16, at the very least. But there are a few other possibilities. Like I say, Summer Game Fest has a wider variety of stuff on show, so we do have the pretty high probability, to be completely honest with you, that we're going to see Ever Crisis. Because they've said Ever Crisis is going to drop before September, because that's the end of the financial year for the company that's working on it. I would be amazed if we don't get any Ever Crisis news. Same as 16. I think 16 and Ever Crisis and Forspoken, we've got to get something. Now, the other big question mark is FF9 Remake. Now, if, and this is a massive if it's happening, there's always the possibility that we could get a little bit of a tease for it, maybe. If it is real, they know it's been leaked, they know the cat's out of the bag, they know that a lot of the other things on that Nvidia leak have been confirmed, so it might be the opportunity for them to show it off a little bit. At the same time, Square Enix have got a lot on their plate at the minute, and FF9 Remake would be pretty massive. And the only other thing that I think that we could get some news about, this is very outside chance, but we may get some news on the potential shows that are in the work. Like, we've got the FF9 animated show that we kind of know is happening. And then you've got anything FF7 related. You know, there were rumours of an anime, there were rumours of a Netflix show. There have been several rumours about this, and given the way Square Enix go about things in recent years, wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if both of them were true, and if they are, we might hear something. But like I say, as far as what I'm expecting, what I'm going into this expecting is I need Final Fantasy 16 news, because, you know, it's been a while. We probably need some Ever Crisis information, like when it's coming out and stuff like that. And Forspoken, you know, that's in the same boat as 16 realistically. 16 and Forspoken, we've got to hear news about these. Even if it is just to update us and say, it's going to be a little bit longer. We've got to get something. Remake Part 2, not so much. FF9 Remake, not so much. But what about you? What do you think? What do you think we're going to get at the State of Play? What do you think we're going to get at Summer Game Fest? Do you think we could go the full week and get nothing? Because it is a possibility. Like, Square Enix might have something planned themselves and just hold off and do it afterwards. Let me know. Tell me what you think in the comments. Like I say, if you want to keep up with us, on June the 2nd, we will be streaming it over on Twitch, so I'll pop the link up on the screen. Come and check it out, come and chill with us and say hi. But thank you very much for watching, and more importantly than anything, have a great day.